Hey, lovely freaks, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Amanda.
And I'm Hannah.
And if you're new here, hi, welcome. If you like things strange and unusual and true crime, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button. You can also head down to the description box and you'll see a link that will take you to our social media, like Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz.
And all that jazz.
Alrighty, so today we've got something a little different for you guys. Today we're going to be, Hannah's going to be telling the story today.
Yep.
My daughter's been sick, so I didn't get a chance to do any research or anything. So, sorry, my husband threw me off. So, yeah, she's going to tell the story, and today we're going to be talking about the Hello Kitty murder. If you guys know what that is, maybe you'll learn something new. I don't know. I have no idea. Well, I know somewhat about it, but anywho.
It's a very interesting case. It reminds me of the Junko case.
Yeah. I know a little bit about it, but I've never listened to a podcast about it or anything. So also I want to mention, don't forget about the Levi Royce Etsy shop that we've been promoting. And when you check out, you can use code LOVELYFREAKS at checkout, and it'll give you 15% off. So don't forget about that. And we'll have all that information linked down below as well. So without further ado, I guess you can take it away.
Okay.
She's kind of nervous.
Yeah, because, I mean, I did a lot of research. I Googled, two articles and read those. And I also listened to a couple of podcasts. So,
but
I think I'm ready.
You knew somewhat about this case before.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard it before. So.
And if I butcher the names, because it's in Hong Kong, I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
So, I'm a country girl. I don't know. Well, I'm not a country girl, but, from the country, so.
From the South?
From the South.
From country.
So, I don't know if I'm saying them right, but I tried my hardest. So, here we go. Okay. In May of 1999, in Hong Kong, a 14-year-old girl goes to the police and says she is being haunted by a woman. At first, the police think it's just a scared young girl and go along with her story. It wasn't until the girl says that the woman who has been haunting her is actually the woman she helped murder. That's when the police officers started to pay more attention. Also, for legal purposes, I will not be saying the name of the 14-year-old because she's too young. I guess the public didn't. Well, you'll see why she's guilty, but also innocent, kind of murdering the girl. So I'm not gonna say her name, and I couldn't find her name anywhere, and I didn't want to do that anyway. So I'm just gonna call her the teenage girl.
The teenager, yeah.
Yeah. So the police then decided to follow the child back to the flat where she said she was being haunted. This is where they discovered that the children's dreams were in fact real nightmares. That's where they found a severed head, an oversized Hello Kitty mermaid stuffy, and in that stuffy was a decapitated skull of a woman. So it was a really large...
It was like a sleeping bag, wasn't it?
No. It was a Hello Kitty doll. And I think maybe it was this. It was a pretty big one, but the pictures are so creepy.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures before.
It's it's really dirty, and it just looks disturbing. From there on, this case is known as the Hello Kitty murder, one of Hong Kong's most awfulest crimes in memory. You probably have many questions like, how did this 14-year-old obtain this Hello Kitty stuffy with a living skull in it, and why is she saying that she was the one who killed the woman? Who was in the doll? Well, the police had those questions as well. The police were hoping that maybe the 14-year-old just went to the store and bought a Hello Kitty stuffy and maybe accidentally found this severed head in her doll.
No.
But it wasn't. It was much worse than that. Very much worse than that. The skull that the police found in the Hello Kitty stuffy was actually 23-year-old Fan Man-yee. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but her name is Fan Man-yee. Fawn, I'm just going to call her Fawn from now on, because that sounds more easier than doing the rest of her name. So Fawn had a very difficult childhood. She was abandoned by her family, and she grew up in a all-girls orphanage. By the time she was a teenager, she had already developed a drug addiction. To pay for her drug addiction, she started to turn to prostitution and committing petty crimes to survive. Sources say that Fawn even had a son. Some sources say that the son was from her husband, and some sources say it's from past clients of hers. A lot of her friends said that Fawn actually stopped doing drugs because she wanted to take care of her son. But when she was married, she was still married to her husband, and he was doing like meths and other hardcore drugs.
Yeah.
Her husband would beat on her son and would sometimes beat on her. So because of that, one day Fawn said that she had enough, and she divorced and left the husband. Good on her. She was trying to make another better life for her son, which is a good thing. When Fawn was 21, she started to work at a brothel instead of working on the streets. She wanted to make enough money to support life with her son. She was still a sex worker, but now it was more safe and regulated. Because of her job, she had contact with really bad people, including the Chinese mafia. She knew that it was a dangerous work, but she had no other choice but to work there because, I mean, I feel like, you know, when you're raised like that, like, especially when you've been around, like, the orphanage, also, the orphanage was, like, not a great orphanage, like, there was, like, shady people there.
I was gonna say, did she get like raped there and stuff like that?
I don't know about that, but I heard that there was a lot of shady people there, that some underground things were happening there. So like, she was already put in a bad situation.
Yeah.
So she thought, you know, the brothel, you know, many people are like, oh, well, why didn't she go like to college or get a job or something? No, she can't do that. She thinks because she's been raised like this that the brothel is like the best option for her.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were jumping on her like she decided to do this because she went to the brothel. She wanted a better life for her son, blah, blah. Like, it was annoying. But yeah, that's the reason she went to the brothel. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a man named Fan Man-yee. Fan Man-yee. Fan Man-yee.
Gotcha.
It was a nice name. Oh, well, I mean, it's easy to say. He's not a nice guy. Well, okay, so he was one of her most frequent customers. Chan was also a part of the Chinese mafia. Chan would request Fawn often. Oh, and also, he owned a lot of Hello Kitty things in his apartment, like Hello Kitty sheets, Hello Kitty dolls, and many other Hello Kitty things, because he had a lot of younger girls that he would pimp out, and they would also like come stay in his apartment. I'm talking about, these girls were like maybe 13, 14, like 10.
Wow.
Yeah. And sometimes he would have relationships with. So was it
kind of like a, I guess it could kind of be like he was a pimp?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was a pimp.
And I'm sure that this has probably to do with sex trafficking, maybe, like we talked about last week.
Probably. He had a lot of young girls that were staying with him, so some people were saying that it was his stuff, like he liked Hello Kitty, but many sources were like, no, because he pimped out girls, so that's the reason. He was like luring them in, like, look at all my Hello Kitty things. And he would have, like, while he had all that Hello Kitty stuff, he would have porn magazines just in the corner and be like, hey, you want to look at these porn magazines while you look at this Hello Kitty stuff? And they're like, yeah. Like, this guy seems safe, I guess so. But it was kind of like a trap.
Yeah.
He had many young girls living with him. Because Fawn was back on drugs again, one night Fawn decided to try her luck and decided to steal from Chan. Yeah, I said that right, Chan. She stole his wallet, which had $4,000 in it, which is a lot of fucking money. Like, okay. Fawn knew she messed up, and she was so scared that she decided to hurry and go work on the streets and collect $14,000 because she knew that he wouldn't, like, she knew he was going to be really upset. So she decided to go out and collect more money than was in his wallet, because you think, okay, you know, maybe he'll be like pissed off.
Yeah.
But I've given you more money. I mean, $14,000. That's like $10,000 more dollars.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. When she finally collected all that money, she went to Chan and told him what she had done and asked him to forgive her and also take the money back. But Chan said that it wasn't enough money. He said if she gave him another $16,000 that he would forgive her, which is a douche move. Like, come on, dude, just take the fucking money.
Yeah.
Fawn agreed to this offer and told him that it might take her a while to get all this money. But that did not satisfy him, because he said if he gave her more time, she might try to run away. So with the help of two of his henchmen, I'm going to call them henchman number 1 and henchman number two. Because their names were difficult to pronounce, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do that. If you want to know more about their names, and I'm sure we'll put pictures up
Yeah.
of their faces, you can just Google the case and their names are up there. So they searched for Fawn. When they found her, she was back doing street work because she knew it was the only way to pay back Chan.
Yeah.
Chan.
Chan.
I'm gonna say Chan. God, I keep changing
it.
When they found her, they grabbed her and drove her. Chain. I'm gonna say it right. Was planning on making his own brothel just for Fawn, so she could pay back her debt. And the first night, the 3 men decided to rape and beat up Fawn. Keep in mind, this is all being told by the 14-year-old girl at the police station.
Yeah.
Almost every day.
And I'm assuming that girl is one of his
Yes, actually.
clients, yeah.
I wrote in my notes, but
not clients, but what's it called? One of his prostitutes or
one of
whatever.
his prostitutes. Yeah, Chan is actually a 34-year-old man, and she was saying, she was 13 at the time when this murder happened, but she was saying that he was his boyfriend. Actually, when she went to the police, she was like, she was like, yeah, me and my boyfriend killed this woman. And this man is like 34 years old. So that's why I also think that she's not a victim, because, I mean, that she is a victim because...
You mean she's not a murderer? Not a victim, but a murderer.
Because she was kind of like brainwashed, you know? Like she was...
Well, there's no telling... Well, maybe you'll get to that. Like how old she was whenever he got her.
Got her and everything, yeah. Almost every day, Fawn was being raped and beaten by these 3 men. After a while, the men started to become bored with the normal raping and beating of Fawn, so they decided to ramp it up a bit. With this, they began to use weapons on Fawn and started to use metal bars and kitchen utensils, bits, and pieces of furniture to beat her up. The teenage girl even said that they would tell her to smile and say that she liked being beaten up, and if she didn't do as they asked, they would beat her even harder. The teenage girl would, when this first happened, they were just beating her up and they were laughing at the same time, and she walked in and her so-called boyfriend said, hey, like, come up, this is fun, like, let's beat this girl up. And she thought, I don't know, I know that it's weird to think, but for some reason she thought it was just fun and all games and everything. Like when she was on the stand,
they thought that she wasn't gonna like maybe they thought that she wasn't gonna kill him or something, you know.
Yeah. When she was on the stand, the police officers asked, like, why did you do it? And it's a little disturbing, but she was like, because it was fun.
Yeah.
Because they said it was going to be fun, and I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Which,
it's fucked up, but...
Yeah, it's fucked up, but she did confess to everything, and I really think that she was feeling guilt after, you know, her coming to the police and saying that this woman was haunting her. Okay, I lost my place. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay. They would also make the teenage girl poop in a box, and then they would feed it to Fawn. They would make her drink motor oil. And they would beat her hands so bad that she couldn't even make a fist. After a while, Fawn couldn't do the service that she was doing to pay off her debt because her body was so broken and swollen. Everything that none of the customers wanted to pay for her, which I thought was so stupid. Like, why would you want her to pay off her debt but
beat her up?
Beat her up. Like, these customers are gonna see this woman who's swollen and probably her breath stinks because they're not feeding her and just making her eat all these gross things. Like, you think that that's gonna help your debt? That's not gonna make everything better.
Yeah.
Like, they really weren't using their brains. I mean, if they had any.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the Junko case as far as, like, them beating her up and then being upset that they couldn't, have sex with her anymore. It's like, well, maybe, don't fucking beat her up.
Beat the shit out of her? Yeah.
It's an idea. Maybe just let her go.
Because of this, it started to make Chan even more upset, which then led him to beat Fawn even more frequently. Of course. He started to think of her as his own personal punching bag. When they got done beating, raping, and pretty much brutally injuring her, they would go to the next room and all hang out and play video games. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal.
God, this sounds such like the Junko case.
They would literally go to the next room after they beat the shit out of her, and they were just like, yeah, let's go play video games, guys. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. I can't. Like, it does sound like the Junko case a lot. But I think the Junko case is worse there because...
Well, yeah.
These are, like, grown men that are already in the Chinese mafia.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, it's still horrific. Like, when I was reading some of the stuff, I was like, my God, this is... I had to stop because I was like, I'm getting too into it. Like, it was just too much.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop there. The days flew by, and the men became even more creative with the ways they wanted to torture her. They began to put burning plastic on her body and also started to put dripping candle wax on her. They would use, like, bulba straws? Like, huge bulba straws? Yeah. They would take a lighter and, like... blow on it, kind of like those balloon things with a straw that you blow. Burnt, it would be dripping, like burnt and dripping on her, and then they would remove it slowly, which would remove the skin. And then they would like rub dirt in it, and like they would take like some kind of oil, and they would rub all over it. It was just like really disgusting.
And they're doing all this because
they just want to. They just want to do all this because they're bored. I don't know.
Yeah.
When they would run out of things to burn, they decided to burn her. They would try to burn her feet so she couldn't walk or try to escape. Sometimes they would force feed her this food that they would make, which was made with dirt, spices, and the men's urine. Or most of the time, they would just pee directly into her mouth. But most of the time, they would starve her. When Fawn was so beaten to the point where she couldn't even move, the men said that she wasn't fun anymore. Just like the other guys.
Just like the other, yeah.
They said, oh, she's not fun anymore. Like, God, such douchebags. So one of the men decided to tie her wrist up with electrical cord and tie up the other end to the ceiling fan and leave her there overnight. Also, the 14-year-old, she said at this point, she saw all of this, but she didn't see what was wrong. Like, she even said, like, I thought it was just for fun. Like, she kept saying that over and over again, which... Did she fully torture the whole time, or was it just like at the beginning and then like maybe? Because I was wondering if like maybe she just did it at the beginning and then towards like when it got really bad, like she was in like another room and she just didn't know. I don't think she saw most of the tortures, but she did, like, her pooping in the box and her, like, she hit her head every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I don't think she did extremes like that. I think she just kind of, you know, watched what they were doing to her. On April 15th, the 3 men and the teenage girl decided they wanted to go out to eat. So they locked Fawn in the bathroom so she couldn't escape. When they returned after many hours, the teenage girl went to go use the bathroom and found Fawn dead in the bathtub. The body was disgusting and was already starting to smell. They, like, even said, like, she died, like, they left for a couple of hours, but when they came back, her body was already had, like, swollen, like, pus all over her body. And it was, like, she was oozing out. She said, like...
Oh, she probably had some sort of infections from them.
Like, it'd only been a couple hours, but her body was starting to ooze out. And they said they were so scared that it, like, the smell was gonna
attract
other people. Yeah. Also, when they got there, there were police officers already there because there was an actual murder that happened. Like, well, not a murder. It was a rape. I remember now. It was a charge of a rape. Yeah, in the apartment, which was weird because they are already like they showed up and they were like, oh my god, like they're taking us to jail, but it was like a rape in another apartment. Like, but they were fucking lucky. Hang on.
But I'm sure they probably got them anyways.
Okay, so they decided because her body was so disgusting, they wanted to cut up her body into pieces so she couldn't be recognized.
Yeah.
They even removed her flesh from her bones, and when they removed her head, they boiled it in a large pot. Many sources say that they would reuse that pot after using it to boil Fawn's head. Like, some people said that they would have, like, rice or noodles cooking right beside the pot, and they would they would stir the pot where her head was being, like, boiled. They would use the spoon to stir the pot. Sorry. And then they would, like, take the spoon and then use it for their noodles.
Yeah, lovely.
It's fucking disgusting.
So, could be considered cannibals, maybe.
Maybe. Many sources say... Okay, I already said that. After the head was boiled, they removed the skin and the lower jaw and decided to stuff her skull inside the 14-year-old's favorite Hello Kitty mermaid doll and sewed the doll back together. Chan demanded that the Hello Kitty doll would go home with the teenage girl. And that's when the teenage girl started saying that she was being haunted by a woman. When she went to the police, she said that she was being haunted by a woman that was tied up with cables, which was what they used to do. They would tie her up with cables and then leave her hanging from the fan overnight. And sometimes they said for many days.
Yeah, I'm sure you were being haunted because she was like, I'm dead now, so I'm going to haunt the shit out of you guys.
The police only found her skull, her teeth, and the remaining of her organs were in the fridge. They took, like, some of her teeth and they split it up among the men, and they would, like, keep the teeth as, like, trophies.
A keepsake or something?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah. Which is weird. When the men were telling their stories to the police...
What year was this again?
1999.
99, yeah.
Mm-hmm. When the men were telling their stories to the police, they were saying that it was all Fawn's idea to run a brothel and that she was a drug addict and overdosed. So they were saying, like, she just overdosed.
And so we decided
to get rid of the body.
Get rid of the body.
Which, why wouldn't you just, if somebody overdosed like that, why wouldn't you just throw them out in the streets? Because, I mean, Exactly.
if they're a prostitute or if they're a drug addict, usually they just throw them in the street and the police just think that they died from an overdose. They're not gonna like, but you couldn't throw
her body was so
That's what
bad.
I'm saying, but you couldn't throw her out into the street because her body was so bad. Somebody would know that she was murdered. It wasn't just an overdose.
Exactly. And why would you keep the teeth? Why would you keep
weird.
her teeth after all this?
No.
It's just weird. Even with this lie, the men were still sentenced with manslaughter with the possibility of parole in 2020. I tried to see if they got parole. Maybe they changed it. When I was listening to the podcast, they kept saying their parole was in 2020. And
well, they may have been eligible for parole, but they might not have gotten it.
I don't know if they've gotten it. I tried to look it up.
Yeah.
They might have changed it or something. Hopefully they don't. I don't think they're going to get it, though.
No, probably not.
They were all given life sentences.
The only reason those other boys in the Junko case are out now is because
they were underage. Yeah. They were even visited by psychiatrists, and the psychiatrist said that they weren't crazy, that they were just psychopaths with no human emotions. The teenage girl was let free because she brought so much evidence to the investigation, so they decided to let her free. Many witnesses said that in the interviews with Chan and the henchmen 1 and 2, they still say that they're innocent and that they have no guilt for doing what they've done to the poor Fawn. Like, they were even in the case, like during the case, they were like, no, like, I'm telling you, we didn't kill her. Like, she was just had a drug overdose, and we just decided to get rid of their body like that.
So the only reason they know all this stuff is because the 14-year-old told.
Yeah, because the 14-year-old. But also, why would you say, hey, 14-year-old girl, take this decapitated head stuffed with your favorite Hello Kitty doll and keep it in your room? I'm sure you'll be fine. Like, did they not think she would get so guilty that she would be like, yeah, I gotta go to the police?
Yeah.
This is a 14-year-old girl. Like, she's gonna feel guilt, and she's gonna have to tell somebody. Because of what the little girl said about her being haunted by Fawn, the place that Fawn was murdered became like a hot spot for people to visit and see if they could contact Fawn beyond the grave. But after a while, it started to get really toxic, so people decided to tear the building down, and now there's a hotel being built there.
Oh,
yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah, no thank you. I couldn't find the name of the hotel. I guess they're not letting that out.
Yeah.
Or I just didn't look hard enough, but yeah. That's the story. That's all that happened.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
So, what did they? There was just a head in there, right?
Yep, there was a head. Her lower jaw was missing. So, some people said it was because when they boiled the head, like, it just came off or something.
And the rest of the body parts were where?
Most of the body parts were in the fridge.
Oh, okay.
And they would just keep most of her teeth. They also found teeth, like, laying around on the floor when the police came. It was really weird. Like, also the apartment.
Caught these people, they probably would have done this again to somebody else that owed them money.
Oh, yeah.
Another girl.
For sure. Also, the apartment was, like, disgusting and trashy. Like, when I saw pictures of it, like, I can't believe.
There was probably blood everywhere.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they were living there. Well, kind of living there.
I mean, yeah, that was just their spot to bring clients and stuff. Which, if I was a client, I'd be like, I'm good, thanks.
Where do you... Here? It was weird.
But that's what's weird also about these cases that we talk about with the, what is it? Yakuza? And all that?
Yeah.
Like,
but this is the Chinese mafia. So.
Yeah, but, like, they just don't care as far as, like, or back then they didn't care as far as, like, oh, you've been tortured, I'll still have sex with you. It's like, oh, why?
That's gross.
And why wouldn't anybody, I don't know, I just don't see why anybody wouldn't have called it in. Like, you could have anonymously called it in and been like, hey, so you might want to check on this girl in this apartment. B12.
But they were probably like heartless men who didn't really care.
Yeah, that too.
We were just there for a good time.
Because she was 16, wasn't she?
What? The girl? No, she was 23 years old.
23, that's right. The other girl was 14.
She was 23 years old when
But
this
there
all
was
happened.
a bunch of young kids that he had as...
Yeah. I couldn't believe
pimping
when
those
she
kids out,
said
so.
that, like, he was 14 and she was 34 and they were together. I was like, what? Mm-mm. No, sweetie. No, sweetie,
my
don't do
boyfriend.
that. That's my boyfriend.
Well, that's why I'm saying she was obviously...
Yeah, I think she was just kind of brainwashed into thinking that
there's
it was,
no
it was
telling
okay.
what age he got her.
Yeah.
And it probably did have... I mean, I don't think it was considered human trafficking or sex trafficking back then. Maybe it was, but maybe her parents sold her, you know.
Yeah. They even said, like... She said that she, like, when she walked in there and she was dead, she couldn't she couldn't grasp that she was actually dead.
Mm-hmm.
She was sitting there and she kept, like, telling them, like, we got to take her to the hospital, something's wrong with her. And they kept going, no, sweetie, she's dead. But she kept being like, no, there's just something wrong with her, she can't be dead. You know, she couldn't grasp that all this things that they were doing to her would actually kill her.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, she's too young. Like, I would say maybe if they're like 16, 17, like high school, like deep into high school, much older, maybe they know what they're doing. But with her being in that situation her whole life and also having, you know, she's already got things that
it's
aren't
not like
okay.
She couldn't have done anything about it. And
Yeah.
even if she wouldn't have went to the cops because I'm sure she's been told, you know, the cops won't believe you.
Yeah.
Her whole life she's probably been told nobody will think anything. Everybody will think you're just a piece of shit because you're a prostitute. That's probably what they told her entire life or however long she's been there.
And the fact that she went to the police and told them that she was being haunted instead of being like, yeah, these people murdered this people.
Yeah. This girl.
Like, just this girl just proves that maybe she, like, doesn't fully understand the situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that case, like I said, but I didn't know they tortured her and all that stuff.
There were actually more details about the torture, but it was, like, too long. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna go. Like, there was more to the point where we could have sat here all day and I could have told you all the things that I just picked out a couple of them that I thought would be okay.
Yeah, kind of like the Junko case too.
Yeah, it was just too much. I was like, I can't go through. It was like a long ass list of all the things they would do to her. So,
did you ever find out, was she in a separate room or was she just like in the middle of the living room? Or
I don't know. I don't know where they did it.
Yeah,
they probably did it in a separate room, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
So.
That's so weird. That's so wild to me that it was, I mean, some of the stuff was just like the Junko case. It's so weird. Was that, I can't remember when the Junko case was.
It was in the 80s or 90s.
It was in the...
You can Google that. Because it was crazy, because when I was, like, literally reading the articles, I was like, is this the Junko case? Like, I scrolled up, I was like, is this the wrong case?
Yeah.
Did I Google the wrong case? Like, I kept thinking that every time I was reading it. I was like, my God.
1989. So, I'm wondering if maybe they didn't take some, like, fucked up notes from the Junko case. Because it was, you know, known, and it was 10 years later.
Maybe they thought, hey, let's try that on this girl.
Yeah. Because some of the stuff was just really similar.
Yeah.
Well, anywho, we did a good job.
Thank you. Sorry that it wasn't that long.
No, it's fine. So yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's case. Just let us know what you think, and then we'll be back next week with hopefully a serial killer. I know I said that last time, but you know, then my kid got sick, so what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Okay. Anyways, so so we will see you guys next week. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend. Don't forget to shop at Levi Royce and use code LovelyFreaks for your 15% off at checkout on Etsy shop. You can see all that information down below. Go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and some people have asked if we're ever going to get a Twitter. Probably not. I don't like Twitter. It's toxic. So there's that.
Me neither.
So yeah. Anyways, we will see you guys next week.
Bye.